This is my new Dell Optiplex model GX150 from around 2000 or 2001, and it's a Pentium 3 class machine, initially pre-installed with Windows 2000 Professional, and it's a slim tower PC that is in the clamshell form factor. And you'll see why it's called clamshell later on, but one of the cool parts about this PC, before we even test it out, is that this panel here can pop off, so that way you can actually change the orientation of the Dell logo. We already took a look at the Dell logo, but it is similar to that of a PS2 in which you can actually flip it so that way it matches the orientation. But underneath it we have two USB ports, we have a headphone output jack, as well as two laptop drives, a CD burner, and a floppy drive, which is extremely handy, especially in a slim form factor PC. Underneath the drives, there is also a hard drive LED indicator, as well as the Optiplex GX150 branding, and the power button. The top, bottom, and the sides of the case, at least the bottom part, isn't all that interesting, but on the top part, we do have some stickers, and the back, of course, is where all of the I/O are. On the other side, there is this sticker which has some information on it, but there's also some feet embedded into the case. It's part of the plastic molding, and an interesting thing about this is that on this side, it has the feet, while on the top side, there are actually recessed pieces in the case in which it seems like those feet would go into the case, so that way it'll align itself. And I guess that would be handy if you have a couple of these for a server or some other purpose in which that you need more than one of these, so that way you can easily put them together. Alternatively, there could also be a Dell monitor which could align onto these if you're using a CRT or something like that, but I don't know of any monitors that have those, but it is interesting to point out that the case does have these built into it. On this side of the case, we have some pretty interesting stickers. Now, first off, we have a Pentium 3 sticker, as well as a pretty lengthy Windows sticker saying it's designed for Windows 2000 Professional, NT Workstation 4.0, and Windows 98. You could probably also install Windows 95 if you wanted to, but 3 different versions of Windows are listed on this one sticker. And of course, we have our Windows 2000 Professional product key, and this is where the product key would go. We will be using that later on. And of course, there's also some Dell information if you need to do some troubleshooting on this. On the other side of the stickers, there's also a button, and the other side has one as well. And if you guys haven't guessed already, or if you've already seen a case like this, these are essential in how you actually open up the PC. And here we have all of the I/O on the computer. So first off, we have a parallel printer port, as well as 2 serial ports, PS2 for mouse and keyboard, Ethernet for internet, 2 USB ports, VGA output, and audio input, line output, and microphone. And here we also have 2 expansion bays. We have this weird DVI looking type connector, but this is called EDD, at least on the bracket itself. And we also have a card that was added later on in this computer's life, and it's a wireless card. I don't currently have an antenna that would screw into this, but it is nice to know that this was included. And of course, we also have the power supply at the end. This PC also has some security measures. I believe this is a Kensington lock slot, and this is also an area for an actual physical lock, so that way if you wanted to lock this with an actual key or other type of lock, you can do that on this system. The 4 dots here in between the PS2 ports and the parallel and serial ports are multicolored LEDs labeled A, B, C, and D, and they help with diagnostics. Now, typically they would all be green if the computer is working perfectly fine, but if there is some sort of problem, one or several of them will turn yellow, and you can reference the manual to see exactly what they mean. Now, it isn't always perfect, but it is nice to have in case there is some sort of problem with the computer. And now it's time to actually open up the system. So here are those two buttons on the side, and all you really have to do is press those, push up, and the clamshell case opens. And here we have the inside of the system. So first off, here's the Pentium 3 processor, as well as a fan, which helps to cool it off. It's not directly attached to it, but it is helping. And we have this inconveniently placed cable, which Dell thought would be a good idea, but it routes up to the area where the drives are. And we also have the RAM. Now this one is not a factory stick. This one is from Toshiba, PC133 RAM. And this one says it's 32M by 64, but it doesn't say a specific size. But we can see whenever we power on the system. This one is factory RAM. This is also PC133, 256 megabytes. And here we also have the cards. But before that, we also have this interesting additional daughter type card. And I'm not exactly sure what function it serves, but it is there. And this system also does not have any leaky capacitors. And this was made during that time when leaky capacitors were a serious issue. So fortunately, the system doesn't have any, at least that I can see. I have checked out all the capacitors, and it seems that they are fine. So that's pretty nice to see on this system. But now we also have these graphics cards, and Dell has this interesting little handle instead of screws to hold the cards. You can put in screws if you want to, but first we have the graphics card. This is a kind of weird and interesting port. It looks just like DVI, but it's slanted like VGA. And the bracket here says EDD, but I got very little results on that when I looked it up. But the closest I could get for information-wise on this card is that this is an ATI Radeon 7000 series card. I believe this is a 32 megabyte card, and this goes also under the name H0424. A official Dell proprietary component. Now I am interested to see if normal VGA would work with this, considering it looks just like it except for the slanted part. But I can't currently use this because I don't have a connector or a monitor that has any type of port that is similar to that. However, the PC will still boot because there is onboard video, so I don't need a graphics card. And because this is AGP, I don't really have any other AGP cards. Here are the stickers for more information, and on the back it also says ATI Technologies, copyright 2001. The other card that's in here that we saw earlier is the wireless card, and this one would need an antenna for better connectivity, but this is a wireless G adapter, and it simply just slots into the PCI slot. And interestingly enough, we have another cable here that is poorly routed. It's really close to this connector. But the other interesting part about this board is that there is another connector here, and you can't even access it. There are only 2 card slots, yet they have 3 card connectors here. But I guess it is nice to have if you want to put the motherboard into a different case, or maybe this is something that they used with other systems and it was easier just to leave that on. But I guess you do have that upgradability if you wanted to use it. We also have the power supply here on the right. This is a 100 watt power supply, and given the size and the form factor of the PC, it does make sense that it would be a smaller one. And here is the cluster of drives. They are on the top half of the movable part of the case, and the floppy drive and the CD burner use this ribbon type of cable to connect it to the motherboard, not like the typical one seen here for the hard drive, but this is a way of saving space, I guess, for the system. And the hard drive itself does use a typical ribbon cable, as well as another one here for some of the connectors on board for the USB and the headphone output. But this is a Western Digital hard drive, WD200. It's a 20 gigabyte one. And of course, in typical Dell fashion, they also have these interesting quick release tabs, so that way if you wanted to upgrade or change something, you can do so easily. Now let's put everything back together, close it up, and try it out. Seeing as this computer does have PS2 ports, I've got my PS2 ball mouse, as well as my PS2 Dell keyboard. So unfortunately we can't have everything in frame because of space, but we have the Dell keyboard right here, we have the Logitech ball mouse, and we also have the Samsung SyncMaster 920NW monitor, and it's compatible with Windows Vista, so I think we'll be fine. The computer is underneath the monitor in the keyboard, and the hard drive on the computer, it seems to work, it spins up, but it doesn't have anything installed on it. So for that, we have this. A CD rewritable with Windows 2000 Professional on it, an installation disk. And the reason I'm going with a CD is because if you go into the boot order of the computer, a USB mass storage device is not one of them. And we're going with the CD because the drive itself only has the CD logo, not DVD, so it doesn't support DVDs. However, Windows 2000, it's not even that big of a file size anyways. The CD itself is also with Service Pack 4, so we won't have to do any more updates other than potentially something like kernel EX and some other hot fixes, which will help us with more compatibility and things like that. And now it's time to turn on the computer. So we're going to press F12 so we can enter the boot menu. And we'll open the CD drive, take our copy of Windows 2000, and now let's choose the CD-ROM. So it took a couple of minutes, but we're at the setup screen now, or at least something that'll continue into the setup. It says your hard drive was either new, it's been erased, or it's with something that isn't compatible with Windows 2000. But considering the hard drive did not boot into anything at all, and we're trying to install an operating system, we're just going to go ahead and press C to continue. So here we have the 20 gigabyte drive, and fortunately it does say that it is there. So we'll just select enter, and I guess we'll just format with NTFS, and now we just have to wait for it to format the drive. And we're here. We're at the setup screen. I think this took longer than it should have because the first time when it needed to reboot, I clicked enter so that way it would reboot faster. However, it just got stuck booting and it never actually continued with the setup. I turned off the system, I powered it back up, and I ran the installer again. Thankfully, it did keep it formatted, so I did not have to reformat the hard drive, but once I selected it and then went back into the installer, it was able to continue, and we're here. I also got a speaker so that way we can actually listen to this. It seems like everything is configured correctly. The keyboard and the system information should be just fine, so we'll just click on next. For the name, I guess we'll just go with Optiplex. And for the organization, we could do Dell. So now let's go to the next part, and now we need the product key, which is conveniently placed on the case. The product key on the Dell itself is not working with this, and it's probably because this is an OEM copy, while this is just a retail copy of Windows 2000. So I'll just have to end up using a different product key, which is unfortunate, but at least we still have an OEM key for this Dell. So the other product key that I used did work, and I guess we can go ahead and change the computer name from this to the model number, which is GX150. And I will not be putting a password. And we'll definitely have to change the date and time on here. So for network settings, I guess we could go with custom to see what it has. And we might as well install these. I guess for a work group, we could just type in Dell. And we're here, Windows 2000. Now this is the first time I'm actually using anything older than XP, so this is pretty cool to see in person. And of course it's telling us that we have to double click to look at things, but now we have this screen here. We don't have any audio. It did not play the startup chime, but I guess we can close this. Check out the start menu, and we can go in settings, control panel. Let's see what's up with the sound. I guess I could try plugging it in from the back, but the headphone jack at the front is not being registered. So I believe the sound is due to not having all of the drivers installed. This is the first time it's being used, so that's to be expected if something isn't working properly, but we do have, I guess we could change it to something interesting. Windows 2000. And because this isn't a dedicated graphics card, it looks horrible, but it works. We can run WinVer to see what this is on. So version 5.0, Service Pack 4. So it is updated in that sense, but because we don't have a actual graphics card, the colors do not look great, but we could probably adjust this. 800 by 600. It looks a little better. We have all of these things. So in components, we have the drives. And this is going to show up with our 20 gigabyte drive. We have roughly 17 gigabytes free after the install. We don't have a SCSI drive. USB, we do have the USB ports. Serial and parallel are also here on board. Display, no display information. Multimedia for the CD-ROM. I guess we could see if the adapter itself has any drivers. Or this is the integrated one, but we do have wireless if we want to try that. But this will definitely need to have more drivers installed because this needs probably graphics drivers, at least even for the integrated one. It's going to need sound drivers. We're not connected to the internet at the moment, but I guess we could make a new connection. And this is for dial-up, but can we exit this network connection? Okay, dial-up. I do not want to do dial-up. I guess we could do a LAN. Yeah, there's no LAN plugged into this right now. I'm assuming that the card inside for wireless also needs a driver because it is not showing up here. Guess we could go to the add remove hardware, troubleshoot, and see if it works. And of course it says it's not there. So I'm going to have to find the drivers for this specific model for the PC itself and the actual wireless card in here. But this is at least Service Pack 4, so we're fully up to date in that sense. There is an unofficial Service Pack 5. It'll add further hotfixes as well as kernel EX, which basically increases the support by a lot because it'll essentially make it run Windows XP programs, if not newer. So that would definitely help. CD player. And yeah, this is not a DVD player, unfortunately, but it does play CDs, so that's something. And that's Windows 2000. So if you guys stuck around for this long, then be sure to stay tuned for more, because we will definitely explore this computer again. We'll get the drivers working in the next episode. Maybe we'll test out some programs. A lot of things are planned in the future for this PC. It is really nice for a slim form factor Pentium 3 system, and it'll be fun to actually mess around with Windows 2000 for once. And yes, this is a pretty noisy system. The hard drive is definitely pretty loud, but at least it works. That's going to be it for this episode. If you guys liked it, then be sure to subscribe and stick around for more. And as always, thanks for watching.